All right, let's talk about getting your cloud under control. We're going to dive into how you can build a really solid foundation using Microsoft Azure so your environment can scale, stay secure, and honestly, just make sense. We'll do it by walking through the story of a company that, well, learned some pretty tough lessons about what happens when you grow too fast. Let's get into it.
So what does happen when your growth in the cloud just completely outpaces your ability to control it? It's a huge problem a lot of companies hit. And to really get it, let's follow the story of a startup we're going to call Speedy Growth Inc. They definitely learned this lesson the hard way.
You know, in the beginning, life was good. Everything was so simple. You had a single developer, a single project, and it all lived nice and neat inside one Azure subscription. It was fast, it was efficient, and it got their product off the ground. Perfect.
And boy, did they succeed. All of a sudden, it wasn't one developer, it was new teams, new projects, a ton of new applications. They were hiring people left and right, launching features, and bringing on customers at a wild pace. And guess what? Everybody needed cloud access, and they needed it yesterday.
Yeah, that single subscription that was once their launchpad, it had become an absolute tangled mess. It was like everyone in the company was just throwing their stuff into one giant room with zero organization. What used to be their source of speed was now a massive liability.
You can just imagine the tough questions being asked by leadership. The monthly Azure bill was a complete mystery with all these surprise costs. Security was a massive question mark. There was no clear line between their precious production data and all the unstable test environments. It was just spiraling out of control.
So, to escape this chaos, Speedy Growth knew they needed a blueprint. They had to stop thinking about their cloud as one giant messy room and start thinking about it like building a house. A well-designed house with a proper structure, floors, individual rooms, and of course, some house rules.
And this is the solution. Azure actually gives you a clear 4-level hierarchy that maps perfectly to our house idea. You start with the plot of land, then you build the foundation and the floors, then you have individual rooms, and finally, you put the furniture inside those rooms. Let's break down what each of these levels really means.
First up, you've got the tenant. This is your entire plot of land. It's the absolute highest level, and it represents your whole organization. Every single thing your company does in Azure, and I mean everything, lives within this one tenant.
Okay, next, with our land secured, we lay the foundation and build the different floors. In Azure, these are called management groups, and this step is absolutely crucial for organization. For example, you could create a production floor and a totally separate development floor. This structure is amazing because it lets you apply broad rules like security policies to everything on that floor all at once. Now, on each floor, we build out the individual rooms. In Azure, these are called subscriptions. So you might have a marketing website room on your production floor and a new app feature room on your development floor. This is so powerful because each subscription is its own little bubble for billing and management. It keeps the marketing team's costs totally separate from the R&D team's costs.
And finally, inside each room, you have the furniture. These are your resource groups. So for that marketing website room, you'd group together the web server, the database, the storage, all the pieces that make that one application work into a single resource group. This makes managing the entire lifecycle of an app just incredibly simple. So, we've built our house. It's got a solid structure. But now we need to apply some rules, right? Who can go into which rooms? What kind of furniture can you even put in them? This is where the Azure Governance Toolkit comes into play.
This toolkit is what gives you total control over your house. Think of it like this. Azure Policy is your building code. It dictates what's allowed and what's not. RBAC, or Role-Based Access Control, is about who gets the keys to which rooms. Defender for Cloud is your high-tech security system. Cost Management is the utility meter. And tags? Well, tags are just the labels on all your furniture so you know who owns what. It's the whole shebang for keeping things in order.
Now let's pause for a second on a really critical point that trips a lot of people up, the difference between policy and RBAC. Azure Policy is all about the resources. It sets rules like, nope, you can't create that super expensive type of virtual machine in the development subscription. RBAC, on the other hand, is all about the people. It gives permissions like the senior development team is allowed to create virtual machines. So one controls the what and the other controls the who. Super important distinction.
So, what was the payoff for all this work? Well, by putting this hierarchy in place and actually using the governance toolkit, Speedy Growth finally tamed the chaos. And their success really boiled down to focusing on what we call the 4 pillars of control.
And this brings us to the 4 pillars that hold up any well-run cloud environment: access, security, cost, and compliance. The thing is, you can't neglect one of these without the others starting to crumble. They're all connected, and they are all absolutely critical for long-term success and stability.
Let's just quickly tie these back to our tools. See how it all fits together? Access is all about RBAC, who can do what. Security, that's handled by Defender for cloud. Cost is kept in check using budgets and those resource tags we talked about. And finally, compliance with all your standards and rules, that's enforced with Azure Policy. It's a complete system.
So here's the bottom line. Good governance isn't about slowing people down or creating bureaucracy. It's about creating a safe, predictable, and cost-effective foundation that lets your teams move faster and build with confidence. It's not a restriction. It's the bedrock that enables sustainable, secure growth. So the real question you have to ask is, are you building a messy room, or are you architecting a house?